The massive alien ship moved silently through space toward Earth. Dr. Kethvar stood at the viewing window, watching the blue planet grow larger. His gray skin showed the excitement he felt inside. After months of travel, they had finally reached their destination. "Begin the stealth systems," he ordered his team. The ship's hull shimmered and disappeared from view. To any primitive species watching, they would be invisible. Kethvar had spent years studying the data about this world. The beings there called themselves humans. They lived on the third planet from their star. Early scans showed they had basic technology, simple governments, and frequent wars. Perfect subjects for observation. "Take us to the dark side of their moon," Kethvar told the pilot, Vostar. "We will set up our research station there." The Xanthari had done this many times before. They would watch a species for several months, learn about their culture, and write reports. The Galactic Council used these reports to decide if a species was ready for contact. Most were not. "Sir, the observation post is ready," reported communications specialist Yilnex. She was young for this kind of mission, but very skilled. "All sensors are working. The humans cannot detect us." Kethvar smiled. He had been doing this work for 30 years. No primitive species had ever discovered them. The Xanthari technology was far too advanced. Meanwhile, deep inside a mountain in Colorado, alarms were going off. Lieutenant Colonel Jake Morrison stared at his computer screen. The numbers made no sense at first, then he realized what he was seeing. "Get me Director Hayes right now," he said into his phone. Jake had been working at this facility for 8 years. Most people thought it was just another military base. They had no idea about Project Nightwatch. The real purpose was to watch for visitors from space. Lisa Hayes arrived within minutes. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and gray hair. She had been running Nightwatch since it started in 1987. "What do we have, Jake?" "Unknown craft in lunar orbit," Jake said. "The quantum sensors picked it up 20 minutes ago. It's using some kind of cloaking device, but our new detection system can still see it." Lisa nodded. This was what they had been waiting for. "Call Dr. Carter and get the team together. Code 7 meeting in 10 minutes. Dr. Alan Carter was already on his way. He had been studying alien technology for most of his adult life. The government had been collecting pieces of crashed ships and lost equipment for decades. Each new find taught them more about what was out there. The meeting room filled quickly. These people had trained for this moment. Lisa looked around the table at her team. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have visitors. Jake, show them what we found." The screen displayed the area around the moon. A red dot marked where the alien ship was, hiding. "They think they're invisible," Jake explained. "But we've been ready for this kind of technology since 2001. "What do we know about them?" asked Marine Captain Ryan Torres. He led the field teams that would handle direct contact if needed. Dr. Carter opened a thick folder. "Based on the ship design and energy patterns, these are Xanthari. We've been tracking their movements for 6 years. They're researchers, not soldiers. They study primitive species." "Primitive?" Lisa raised an eyebrow. "That's interesting." "They think Earth is still in early development," Carter continued. "Our intelligence suggests they have no idea we've been watching them and 16 other alien species." Agent Kevin Price leaned forward. "So what's the plan? Do we make contact?" "Not yet," Lisa said. "Let them think they're studying us. Meanwhile, we study them. I want to know everything about how they work, what they want, and what they plan to report back home." Captain Torres spoke up. "My teams are already in position. We've been preparing for this scenario for years. They won't be able to watch us without us watching them first." Dr. Marie Foster, their language expert, was excited. "I've been working on Xanthari translation software. If they start communicating with their homeworld, we should be able to understand them within hours." Back on the alien ship, Kethvar was setting up his equipment. The humans below seemed busy with their daily activities. Cities full of lights, vehicles moving on roads, aircraft flying through the sky. It all looked so simple and unorganized. "Begin recording everything," he told his team. I want detailed notes on their behavior patterns, social structures, and technology levels. Bossatar pointed at his screen. Look at this, sir. They're still using chemical rockets to reach space. Very primitive. Yes, Kethvar agreed. But look how many of them there are. Over 7 billion individuals on one planet. That's unusual for a species at this development level. Yilnex was monitoring human communications. They have a global information network, she reported. Quite advanced for their technology level. They seem to share information very quickly. What the Zinthari did not know was that every transmission they made was being recorded. Deep underground in Colorado, computers were already beginning to decode their language. Dr. Foster's programs were learning their grammar and vocabulary with each passing hour. Jake Morrison watched the alien ship on his screens. They're launching observation drones, he told his team over the radio. Small ones heading for major cities. Shadow teams are ready, Captain Torres replied. We'll track every single drone without them knowing. The shadow teams were special units trained to observe without being seen. Each member had the best camouflage technology human science could create. They would follow the alien drones and watch what the aliens were watching. Agent Kevin Price was stationed in New York City. He watched through binoculars as a tiny alien device flew over Central Park. I see it, he whispered into his radio. Looks like it's recording people in the park. Make sure it sees what we want it to see, came the reply from Director Hayes. This was the beginning of the most elaborate game of hide-and-seek in human history. The aliens thought they were secretly studying primitive humans. The humans knew the aliens were there and were secretly studying them right back. But the aliens had no idea that the humans were much more advanced than they appeared. Dr. Carter smiled as he looked at the data coming in. They're about to learn something very important about Earth, he said to himself. We stopped being primitive a long time ago. 3 days into their mission, the Zinthari felt confident about their work. Dr. Kethavar reviewed the reports from his team. The humans were acting exactly as expected for a primitive species. They gather in large groups during daylight hours, Vostar reported. They seem to have basic jobs and simple social structures. Most of their technology appears to be mechanical rather than electronic. Yilnex nodded in agreement. Their communication methods are interesting but crude. They use electromagnetic waves and physical cables. No quantum networks or psychic links. From their hidden base on the moon, the Zinthari watched major cities around Earth. They recorded humans walking to work, children playing in parks, and families eating together. Everything seemed so basic and innocent, but the Zinthari were not seeing the whole picture. In a building that looked like any other office in New York, Agent Kevin Price sat watching multiple screens. Each screen showed what the alien drones were recording. Kevin and his team made sure those drones saw exactly what they were supposed to see. Drone 7 is heading toward the financial district, Kevin said into his headset. Make sure the Goldman building shows normal activity only. 3 blocks away, people quickly moved advanced computers out of sight. Wall screens showing global, quantum trading networks were replaced with simple stock tickers. Within minutes, a building full of cutting-edge technology looked like it contained nothing more advanced than basic computers. This scene was repeated in dozens of cities around the world. Captain Torres coordinated from Colorado, making sure every shadow team knew when alien drones were coming. The teams had practiced this many times. They could make any location look primitive within minutes. Tokyo team, you have 2 drones incoming, Torres said. Hide the fusion reactor displays and bring out the old electrical panels. Dr. Marie Foster was having the time of her life. She had cracked the Zinthari language completely. Now she listened to every conversation the aliens had. Her favorite part was hearing how confused they were becoming. Listen to this, she told Dr. Carter, playing a recording. The Zinthari communications officer is telling her commander that human behavior doesn't match their predictions. The alien voice came through the speakers, now translated into English. Sir, something is strange about these beings. Yesterday I watched a group solve a complex problem in minutes. The solution required thinking patterns we don't see in other primitive species. Carter laughed. They're starting to notice that humans are smarter than expected. but they still don't realize we know they're there. The Xanthari were indeed becoming puzzled. Vostar had been watching a university in California. The humans there were supposed to be students learning basic concepts, but he kept seeing them discuss ideas that seemed far too advanced for their supposed development level. "Kethvar, you need to see this," Vossitar called. "These young humans are talking about quantum physics and dimensional mathematics. How do they know such things?" Dr. Kethvar reviewed the recordings. The conversation was between two college students sitting under a tree. They were discussing theories that most Xanthari didn't learn until advanced studies. What Kethvar didn't know was that those students were actually Dr. Lisa Park and Dr. James Mitchell, two of Earth's leading theoretical physicists. They were part of Kevin Price's team, assigned to confuse the alien observers. "We need to be more careful," Dr. Park had said earlier. "Make it look accidental, like we're just naturally smart, not like we're trained scientists." The game was working perfectly. The aliens saw humans who seemed primitive but kept doing surprisingly intelligent things. This made them curious instead of suspicious. Meanwhile, the shadow teams were learning everything about Xanthari technology. Captain Torres received daily reports about alien equipment, communication methods, and behavioral patterns. "Their drones use gravitational sensors," reported Sergeant Bill Murphy from London. "I got close enough to scan one. The technology is advanced, but not as advanced as they think." "Good work," Torres replied. "Dr. Carter wants complete technical specifications on everything they use." The most interesting discovery came from Agent Sarah Kim in Beijing. She had been following a Xanthari scout who was studying human government buildings. The aliens spent hours watching people go in and out of what it thought was a primitive administrative center. "The funny part," Sarah reported, "is that building has been empty for 6 months. We just put actors in there to make it look busy. The alien has no idea it's watching a performance." This was Director Hayes's favorite part of the operation. The aliens thought they were being so clever, secretly watching humans. But every single thing they observed was carefully planned by human intelligence teams. "How are they reacting to the technology inconsistencies?" Hayes asked Dr. Foster. "They're getting worried," Foster replied, playing another intercepted message. "Listen to this conversation between their commander and his science officer." The alien voices filled the room. "These humans show signs of technology that shouldn't exist yet," the commander was saying. "Some of their tools are centuries ahead of what our models predicted. Maybe our initial data was wrong," the science officer replied. "Or maybe some other species has been helping them." Dr. Carter smiled when he heard that. "They're starting to suspect outside influence, but they think someone else is helping us. They have no idea we've been helping ourselves." The truth was that humans had been collecting alien technology for decades. Every crashed probe, every lost piece of equipment, every abandoned sensor had been studied and reverse-engineered. Human scientists had learned to build quantum computers from Krex mining equipment, energy shields from Talinari scout ships, and advanced sensors from a dozen other species. But the Xanthari knew nothing about any of this. To them, humans were just unusually smart primitives with some unexplained technology. Agent Kevin Price watched the main Xanthari observation drone hovering over Central Park. Below, families were having picnics, and children were playing games. It looked perfectly normal and innocent. What the drone couldn't see were the quantum communication devices hidden in baby strollers, the advanced surveillance equipment disguised as park benches, and the energy weapons built into ice cream carts. The entire park was actually one of Earth's most secure monitoring stations, designed to look like a public recreation area. "They're taking detailed scans of the children," Kevin reported, "probably trying to understand human development patterns." "Perfect," came the reply from Torres. "Those children are actually young adults from our training program. Let the aliens think they're studying normal kids." The Xanthari had no idea that even the children were part of the deception. Every person they observed had been carefully chosen and trained. Every conversation they recorded had been scripted. Every piece of technology they detected had been deliberately placed for them to find. As the day ended, Dr. Kethvar felt more confused than ever. These humans were not behaving like any primitive species he had studied before. They were too organized, too intelligent, and too adaptable, but they also seemed genuinely unaware of being watched. Maybe they're just naturally more advanced than our data suggested, he told his team. We'll continue observations and see what else we learn. Far below on Earth, Director Hayes was reading the daily reports from all shadow teams. Every alien movement had been tracked, every alien device had been analyzed, and every alien conversation had been recorded. They still don't know, she said to her assistant. After 3 days of watching us, they still have no idea we've been watching them. After a week of observation, Dr. Kethvar was deeply troubled. His team's findings didn't match anything in their research database. These humans were unlike any primitive species the Zenthari had ever encountered. Show me the behavioral analysis. Again, he told Yilnex. The young communications officer displayed her data on the main screen. The patterns are confusing, sir. Humans show remarkable adaptability. When faced with problems, they find solutions faster than our models predict. They also cooperate in ways we didn't expect. Vossitar added his observations. Yesterday I watched a group respond to an emergency. A building caught fire, and within minutes hundreds of humans organized a rescue operation. No central command, no obvious leader, but perfect coordination. What the Zenthari didn't know was that they had watched a training exercise. Captain Torres had arranged for his teams to practice emergency response while alien drones were in the area. The fire was fake, but the coordination was real. There's something else, Yilnex continued. Their technology levels are inconsistent. In some areas they seem very primitive, but in others they show capabilities that shouldn't exist for centuries. Dr. Kethvar studied the reports carefully. Humans used simple vehicles that burned chemical fuel, but they also had communication networks that seemed impossibly advanced. They lived in basic buildings, but some of their medical equipment appeared to use quantum principles. Could another species be helping them? Vostar suggested. That's what I'm beginning to think, Kethvar replied. But who? And why haven't we detected them? Back on Earth, Commander Helen Stone was reading the same reports from a very different perspective. As Director Hayes' second-in-command, Stone was responsible for the day-to-day operations of Project Nightwatch. They're getting suspicious, she told Dr. Greg Watson, who led the technology deception teams. Time to give them something more to think about. Dr. Watson smiled. He had been waiting for this moment. Operation Mirror Game is ready to begin. We'll show them just enough advanced technology to make them question everything they think they know. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. Instead of hiding all human technology, they would selectively reveal pieces that would confuse the aliens even more. The goal was to make the Zenthari think they were missing something important. Start with the quantum research facility in Denver, Stone ordered. Let their drones see the building, but not what's inside. Make them curious. Agent Kevin Price received new instructions. Instead of making everything look primitive, his team would now allow certain advanced technologies to be seen. But only briefly, and only in ways that would raise more questions than answers. The next morning, Yilnex noticed something strange in Denver. Her sensors detected energy patterns that didn't match anything in their database of primitive technologies. The readings suggested quantum manipulation on a massive scale. Sir, you need to see this, she called to Dr. Kethvar. I'm detecting advanced quantum signatures from a human facility. Kethvar rushed to her station. The readings were clearly beyond what humans should be capable of. Are you certain these readings are correct? Positive, sir. The energy patterns indicate controlled quantum tunneling and dimensional manipulation. This technology is more advanced than some of our own systems. Vostar joined them at the sensor station. That's impossible. Our preliminary scan showed they barely understand basic physics, but as they watched, the quantum signatures suddenly disappeared. The building returned to normal energy levels, as if the advanced technology had never existed. What the aliens didn't realize was that Dr. Watson's team had briefly activated a quantum computer, just long enough for alien sensors to detect it. Then they shut it down and moved it to a different location. Perfect, Watson reported to Commander Stone. They detected the quantum signatures exactly as planned. Now they'll spend days trying to figure out what they saw. The confusion was spreading through the Zenthari research team. Over the next several days, they detected advanced technologies appearing and disappearing all over the planet. A fusion reactor in Tokyo operated for 2 hours, then vanished. Advanced medical scanners in London showed up on sensors for 30 minutes before going offline. Quantum communication arrays activated in different cities, then shut down before detailed scans could be completed. Dr. Kethvar called an emergency meeting. Something is very wrong with our intelligence about this species. They're not primitive at all. Look at this data. His team reviewed recordings that showed humans using technologies the Zenthari had never seen before. The problem was that each piece of advanced technology appeared only briefly, in different locations with no apparent pattern. It's almost like they're testing equipment, suggested Yilnex, as if they have advanced technology but don't trust it enough to use it regularly. Or, said Vostar quietly, like they're hiding it from someone. That thought sent a chill through the research team. If humans were hiding their true technology level, who were they hiding it from? And why? Meanwhile, Captain Torres was coordinating the most complex deception operation in human history. His shadow teams were positioned around the globe, making sure alien observers saw exactly what humans wanted them to see. Phoenix team, activate the energy shield for exactly 90 seconds, he ordered. Let the aliens see it, then shut it down. 3,000 miles away, a building in Arizona briefly glowed with protective energy barriers that could stop starship weapons. Zenthari sensors recorded the impossible technology, then watched it disappear without explanation. Dr. Marie Foster was having the most fun listening to alien communications. The Zenthari were becoming more confused and worried with each passing day. They're starting to panic, she told Director Hayes, playing the latest intercepted messages. Listen to their commander reporting back to the homeworld. Kethvar's voice filled the room, translated into English. Central Command, our observations have revealed significant inconsistencies in our intelligence about Sol 3. The inhabitants demonstrate technological capabilities that exceed our projections by centuries. We request guidance on how to proceed. The response from Zenthari Central Command was equally interesting. Continue observations. Determine source of advanced technology. If another species is interfering with primitive world development, we need to identify them immediately. Director Hayes smiled. They think someone else is helping us. They can't imagine that we developed this technology ourselves. Dr. Carter was analyzing the alien ship itself. Human sensors had been studying Zenthari technology since they arrived. Their ship is advanced, but not as advanced as they think. We could build something similar with our current technology. How similar? Asked Commander Stone. Very similar. Maybe even better in some areas. We've learned a lot from all those crashed alien ships over the years. This was the secret the Zenthari couldn't imagine. Humans hadn't developed their technology in isolation. For decades, they had been reverse engineering alien equipment from multiple species. Every crashed probe, every abandoned sensor, every lost piece of equipment had been studied, analyzed, and improved upon. The result was a human civilization that looked primitive on the surface but possessed technology that combined the best innovations from 17 different alien species. It was a unique hybrid that no single alien race could understand because no single alien race had created it. Agent Sarah Kim reported from Beijing. The aliens just spent 3 hours scanning the building where we briefly activated the dimensional gateway. They have no idea what they detected, but they know it was something impossible. The dimensional gateway was one of humanity's most secret projects. Built using principles learned from crashed Vortani equipment, it could create temporary doorways through space. Humans had used it for covert transportation for years, but no alien species knew it existed. Dr. Kethvar stared at his data, feeling more lost than ever. These humans possessed technology that seemed to come from nowhere. It didn't follow any known development pattern. Advanced quantum systems appeared next to primitive mechanical devices. Impossible energy sources operated alongside basic chemical processes. "Oh, it's like they're using technology from multiple different species," he said to his team. "But that's impossible unless..." Unless what, sir? Asked Yilnex. Unless they've been collecting it from somewhere. But where? And for how long? Back in Colorado, Director Hayes reviewed the daily reports with satisfaction. The aliens were asking all the right questions, but they still hadn't figured out the answers. How much longer do we keep this up? Asked Commander Stone. Until they're ready to learn the truth, Hayes replied. That humans stopped being primitive a long time ago, and we've been preparing for visitors like them for decades. Dr. Kethavar made a decision that would change everything. The inconsistencies in human technology had become too obvious to ignore. He decided to expand their surveillance network, hoping to understand how humans had achieved such impossible technological advancement. Deploy the microprobes, he ordered Vostar. I want them in every major city, every government facility, and every research center. Whatever these humans are hiding, we're going to find it. The microprobes were the Xanthari's most advanced surveillance technology. Smaller than insects, they could penetrate any building and remain undetected by primitive sensors. Kethavar was confident they would finally reveal the truth about human civilization. What he didn't know was that humans had been waiting for exactly this moment. Deep underground in Colorado, alarms started ringing throughout the Night Watch facility. Lieutenant Colonel Jake Morrison watched his screens as dozens of alien microprobes entered Earth's atmosphere. They're going active, he reported to Director Hayes. Full surveillance deployment. The microprobes are heading for Washington, Moscow, Beijing, London, and 17 other major cities. Director Hayes had been expecting this for days. The confusion campaign had worked perfectly. Now the aliens were desperate enough to use their most advanced surveillance equipment. Activate Defensive Protocol 7, she ordered. It's time to show them what happens when someone tries to spy on Earth. What the Xanthari didn't understand was that humans had been preparing for microprobe infiltration since 2003, when they first captured similar devices from the Kreks. Every important building on Earth was protected by quantum detection grids that could identify any foreign technology, no matter how small. The first microprobe approached the Pentagon. It had been designed to slip through any primitive security system without being detected. Instead, it triggered automated defenses that had been waiting for exactly this kind of intrusion. Vostar watched his control screen in confusion. Sir, Probe 7 just went offline. I'm reading some kind of interference. Mechanical failure? Asked Kethavar. No, sir. The probe was functioning normally, then suddenly, nothing. What had happened was simple. The moment the alien device entered the Pentagon's airspace, human quantum sensors detected it. Automated defense systems activated a localized electromagnetic pulse that fried the probe's circuits. The tiny device fell harmlessly to the ground, where it was immediately collected by waiting technicians. Captain Torres coordinated the response from his command center. Probe intercept successful at location Alpha. Technical team is recovering the device now. Similar scenes played out around the world. Each microprobe was detected, disabled, and captured within minutes of arrival. The aliens lost their entire surveillance network without understanding what had happened. But Colonel Morrison had an even better idea. Instead of just destroying them, why don't we let some of them work, but control what they see? Director Hayes smiled. I like that thinking. Let a few probes survive, but make sure they discover exactly what we want them to discover. Dr. Greg Watson's team quickly modified the plan. Instead of destroying all the microprobes, they would allow certain ones to continue operating, but those probes would be guided to specific locations where they would find carefully prepared evidence. The first modified probe was allowed to enter a facility in Nevada. What it discovered there would change everything the Xanthari thought they knew about Earth. Probe 15 is transmitting, Yilnex reported excitedly. It's found some kind of storage facility. Sir, you need to see this. The images coming from the probe were extraordinary. Room after room filled with advanced technology. But this wasn't human technology. The equipment showed design patterns from multiple different alien species. Dr. Kethavar stared at the transmission in growing horror. Those are Kreks mining units, and that's a Talnari navigation system. How do humans have equipment from other species? More images appeared on their screens. Weapons from the Vektari war fleet, communication devices from the peaceful Zentori traders, medical equipment from the advanced Hailari civilization, dozens of different technologies from species across the galaxy, all stored in a single human facility. Vossitar's voice was barely a whisper. "Sir, how long have they been collecting this equipment?" The probe moved deeper into the facility, revealing more shocking discoveries. Human technicians were working on the alien equipment, taking it apart, studying it, and rebuilding it with improvements. It was a massive reverse engineering operation that had clearly been going on for years. They're not just collecting alien technology, Kethvar realized. They're learning from it, improving it, making it their own. Another probe sent back images from a different facility. This one showed humans training with weapons and equipment that combined multiple alien technologies. Soldiers wearing armor that used Krex materials, Vektari energy systems, and Hailari medical monitors. It was technology that no single alien species possessed. Yilnex discovered the most disturbing evidence of all. "Sir, I'm detecting files in this facility. Digital records. They appear to be detailed studies of us." The probe had found a computer terminal displaying information about Zenthari culture, technology, and biology. But the level of detail was impossible. It included information that only Zenthari scholars would know. Personal details about individual Zenthari citizens. Even classified military data. Dr. Kethvar felt his world collapsing around him. How do they know so much about us? We've never made contact with humans before. But the evidence kept coming. The probe found detailed files on 17 different alien species, complete cultural analyses, technological assessments, and behavioral studies. The humans had been studying the galaxy for decades while everyone assumed they were a primitive, isolated species. Commander Helen Stone watched the alien reactions from her control center. The microprobes were sending back exactly the information she wanted them to see. But the real surprise was still coming. Agent Kevin Price activated the final part of the revelation. "Initiate the communication intercept protocol," he said. "Let them hear what we've been hearing." On the Zenthari ship, Yilnex suddenly detected impossible signals. Her communication equipment was picking up conversations in languages she recognized. Krex mining reports, Talnari scout communications, Vektari patrol updates. The humans were intercepting and understanding alien communications from multiple species across the galaxy. "They're listening to everyone," she reported in shock. "Sir, the humans have been monitoring galactic communications for years. They know about ship movements, trade routes, military operations. They know everything." The full scope of the revelation hit Dr. Kethvar like a physical blow. Humans weren't primitive. They weren't isolated. They had been secretly studying, learning from, and preparing to join galactic civilization for decades. Every species in the galaxy thought they were dealing with a backward world, but Earth had become one of the most informed civilizations in known space. Dr. Marie Foster listened to the alien conversations with great satisfaction. The Zenthari were finally beginning to understand what they were really dealing with. "They're in full panic mode," she reported to Director Hayes. "Listen to this message they just sent to their homeworld." Kethvar's voice filled the room, but now it sounded desperate and frightened. "Central Command, we have made a critical error. The Sol 3 inhabitants are not primitive. They have been covertly studying multiple alien species for an unknown period of time. They possess hybrid technologies combining innovations from across the galaxy. They have detailed intelligence files on Zenthari operations. Request immediate guidance." The response from Zenthari Central Command took several minutes to arrive. When it came, it was just as shocked as the research team. "Are you certain of this information? How could a primitive species achieve such advanced intelligence capabilities?" "Sir," Kethvar replied, "I don't think they were ever primitive. I think we've been deceived from the beginning." Back in Colorado, Director Hayes allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The hardest part of the plan was complete. The aliens now understood that they weren't dealing with primitives, but they still didn't know the full truth. Dr. Carter approached her with the final piece of the puzzle. The technical analysis is complete. We've learned everything we need to know about Zenthari technology. Their ship, their equipment, their capabilities. We're ready for the next phase. Which is? Hayes asked. Carter smiled. Direct contact. But not the way they expect. We're going to show them that in this situation we're the advanced species and they're the ones who have been out of their depth. Agent Sarah Kim sent the final report from Beijing. All microprobes have been accounted for. The aliens now have exactly the information we want them to have. They know we've been studying them, but they don't know how thoroughly. The revelation cascade was complete. In just a few hours, the Zenthari had gone from thinking they were secretly studying primitives to realizing they were being studied by a species that knew more about the galaxy than they did. Dr. Kethvar sat in his command chair, staring at the evidence his probes had gathered. Everything he thought he knew about humans was wrong. They weren't primitive subjects to be observed. They were sophisticated. The panic aboard the Zenthari research vessel was unlike anything Dr. Kethvar had experienced in 30 years of scientific missions. His team sat in stunned silence as the full reality of their situation became clear. "Sir," Yilnex said with a shaking voice, "I've discovered something else. The humans have been monitoring our communications since the moment we entered their solar system." She displayed the evidence on the main screen. Human quantum networks had been intercepting, recording, and translating every transmission the Zenthari had made. Every report sent back to the Zenthari collective, every private conversation between crew members, every technical discussion about their equipment, all of it had been captured and analyzed. Vostar stared at the data in horror. They understand our language perfectly. They know our technology specifications. They even know personal details about each of us. The evidence was overwhelming. Human computers contained detailed psychological profiles of every Zenthari crew member. They knew Kethvar's favorite foods, Yilnex's family history, and Vostar's career ambitions. The supposed primitives had been studying the aliens more thoroughly than the aliens had been studying them. "How is this possible?" Kethvar whispered. "We're supposed to be the advanced species." The answer came in the form of a transmission that changed everything. Yilnex's equipment detected an incoming message on Zenthari communication frequencies. But the message wasn't from their homeworld. It was from Earth. "Greetings, Zenthari research vessel," came a calm female voice. "Speaking perfect Zenthari. This is Director Lisa Hayes of Earth's Night Watch program. We have been monitoring your mission with great interest. We would like to invite Dr. Kethvar and his team to discuss our mutual research interests." The alien crew sat in shocked silence. Not only did the humans know they were there, but they knew the commander's name and were speaking their language fluently. The message continued. "We understand this must be surprising for you. Please don't feel embarrassed about the situation. You are not the first alien research team to discover that Earth is more prepared for contact than expected. We look forward to meeting you in person." Dr. Kethvar felt his entire worldview crumbling. "They're inviting us to meet? As equals?" "Sir," Vossitar said nervously, "what should we do?" Before Kethvar could answer, more information appeared on their screens. The humans were transmitting detailed files about Zenthari culture, technology, and history. But these weren't the basic facts any species might know. These files contained information that should have been impossible for humans to obtain. The files included classified Zenthari military data, private communications between government officials, and even personal messages between Zenthari families. The humans somehow had access to information from the heart of Zenthari space, thousands of light years away. Yilnex reviewed the files with growing amazement. "Sir, they know more about our species than some of our own government officials. How did they get access to classified Zenthari databases?" The answer came in another transmission from Earth. This time, the voice belonged to Dr. Alan Carter, speaking in flawless Zenthari with perfect cultural context. "We understand your confusion about our information sources. The explanation is simple. We have been monitoring galactic communications and collecting intelligence about multiple species for several decades. Your people are not the only ones who have visited Earth. We have had contact with representatives from 17 different civilizations. Carter's message included evidence that made the Zenthari team feel even smaller. Human databases contained detailed information about Krek's mining operations, Talnari scout routes, Vectari military movements, and communications from dozens of other species. Earth had become a central intelligence hub for the entire galactic region. Every crashed probe, every lost piece of equipment, every abandoned sensor array. Carter continued. We collected them all, studied them all, learned from them all. Your species helped us develop quantum communication technology when one of your deep space sensors malfunctioned and crashed on our moon in 2018. Kethvar remembered that incident. A routine sensor array had gone offline near the Sol system. The loss report said it was probably destroyed by cosmic radiation. No one had imagined it might have crashed on the primitive planet's satellite. That sensor taught us how to build quantum communication arrays. Carter's message continued. We've been using similar technology to monitor your transmissions ever since. We want to thank you for that accidental contribution to our development. The irony was devastating. The Zenthari's own lost equipment had been used to spy on them. They had unknowingly provided humans with the technology needed to monitor Zenthari operations. Commander Helen Stone's voice joined the transmission. We're prepared to meet with your research team whenever you're ready. We have transportation available that might surprise you. On the screens around the alien ship, new contacts appeared. 3 human spacecraft were approaching from different directions. But these weren't the primitive chemical rockets the Zenthari had observed earlier. These ships used advanced propulsion systems that combined technologies from multiple alien species. Vossitar analyzed the approaching vessels with growing shock. Sir, those ships are using Krek's gravitational drives, Talnari energy shields, and Vectari weapon systems. But the integration is better than anything I've seen. How did they improve on our technology? Dr. Kethvar realized the answer. Humans hadn't just copied alien technology. They had studied equipment from 17 different species and combined the best features of each. The result was hybrid technology that was often superior to what any single alien race could produce. The lead human ship opened a communication channel. Captain Ryan Torres appeared on the Zenthari screens, wearing a uniform that incorporated design elements from multiple alien cultures. Dr. Kethvar, Torres said in perfect Zenthari, I'm Captain Torres of the Earth Defense Force. We're here to escort you to our meeting facility. Please don't be concerned about our ship's capabilities. We've had many years to prepare for this moment. The escort formation was unlike anything in Zenthari experience. The human ships moved with perfect coordination, demonstrating tactical skills that suggested extensive training against multiple alien combat doctrines. It was clear these weren't primitive beings learning to use advanced technology. These were experienced operators who had mastered systems from across the galaxy. Dr. Marie Foster sent a final message that completed the psychological impact. Dr. Kethvar, we have one more thing to share with you. We've prepared a comprehensive report on your mission, your crew, and your species. This report was compiled using the same methods you plan to use for studying us. The report appeared on Zenthari screens, and it was devastating in its thoroughness. Human analysts had created detailed psychological profiles of each crew member, strategic assessments of Zenthari capabilities, and cultural analysis that showed deep understanding of Zenthari society. But the most shocking part was the conclusion. The report recommended that the Zenthari collective be approached for formal diplomatic relations, noting that while Zenthari technology was advanced, their intelligence capabilities were limited, and their understanding of other species was often inaccurate. In summary, the report concluded, the Zenthari represent a mid-level galactic civilization with good intentions but poor preparation for complex interspecies relations. They would benefit from partnership with more experienced civilizations. Yilnex read the conclusion aloud, her voice barely audible. They're evaluating us the same way we planned to evaluate them, and their conclusion is that we need their help more than they need ours. The role reversal was complete. The advanced alien researchers had become the subjects being studied. The primitive species they came to observe had become the experts analyzing them. Dr. Kethvar looked around at his demoralized crew. Everything they thought they knew about galactic politics was wrong. Earth wasn't a primitive world waiting to be discovered. It was an intelligence powerhouse that had been quietly studying and preparing for galactic contact for decades. "Sir?" Vostar asked quietly. "What do we tell Central Command?" Kethvar considered the question carefully. "How do you explain to your superiors that you've discovered a species that knows more about your own civilization than you do? How do you report that the primitives you came to study have been studying you for years?" "We tell them the truth," he said finally. "We tell them that we've encountered something unprecedented in galactic history, a species that turned being observed into an opportunity to become the observers." Agent Kevin Price's voice came through the communication system one final time. "Dr. Kethvar, there's no need to feel embarrassed about this situation. You're not the first alien team to underestimate Earth, and you probably won't be the last. But you will be the first to participate in formal diplomatic contact. We're honored to meet you officially." The Xanthari research vessel began following its human escorts toward Earth. Dr. Kethvar realized that his mission had fundamentally changed. He was no longer a scientist studying primitives. He was a diplomat representing his species in negotiations, with a civilization that held all the advantages. The students had become the teachers, and the teachers had become the students. The formal first contact ceremony took place in a facility that perfectly demonstrated humanity's unique position in galactic politics. Dr. Kethvar and his team were escorted to a conference room that looked like a museum of alien civilizations, technologies. From 17 different species lined the walls. Krek's mining equipment sat next to Talnari navigation systems. Vectari weapons were displayed alongside Halari medical devices, but everything had been modified, improved, and integrated with human innovations. "Welcome to Earth," Director Lisa Hayes said in perfect Xanthari as she entered the room. She was followed by a team that included representatives from every major human intelligence agency, military branch, and scientific organization. Dr. Kethvar barely recognized the species he had come to study. These humans moved with confidence, spoke with authority, and demonstrated technological capabilities that rivaled the most advanced galactic civilizations. Commander Helen Stone gestured to the displays around the room. "This represents 40 years of careful study and preparation. Every piece of equipment you see here was obtained from various alien visitors, analyzed by our scientists, and improved upon by human engineers." Dr. Alan Carter approached with a thick folder. "Dr. Kethvar, this is our complete analysis of Xanthari technology, culture, and strategic capabilities. We've been preparing it since we first detected your species 6 years ago." The folder was devastating in its thoroughness. Human analysts had identified weaknesses in Xanthari ship design, flaws in their communication protocols, and gaps in their intelligence gathering methods. It was the kind of detailed assessment that should have taken years of close cooperation to produce. "How did you learn so much about us?" Kethvar asked, his voice barely steady. Captain Torres smiled and activated a holographic display. "We've been tracking Xanthari movements throughout this region of the galaxy for years. Your deep space sensors, scout ships, and research vessels have been monitored by our quantum detection networks." The display showed a map of local star systems with Xanthari ship movements marked in detail. Every mission, every patrol route, every research expedition had been recorded and analyzed by human intelligence networks. "But that's impossible," protested Vostar. "Our stealth technology is the most advanced in the galaxy." Dr. Greg Watson stepped forward with technical specifications. "Your stealth technology is excellent against sensors designed by a single species, but we've been combining detection methods from multiple alien civilizations. The result is a monitoring network that can track any known stealth system." Agent Kevin Price added more shocking revelations. "We've also been monitoring your communications with the Xanthari Collective. We know about your government's plans for this region, your military capabilities, and your diplomatic relationships with other species." The psychological impact on the Xanthari team was enormous. They had come to study what they thought was a primitive species. Instead, they discovered that this species had been studying their entire civilization for years. Dr. Marie Foster presented the most impressive demonstration of human capabilities. Dr. Kethvar, we'd like to share some information about your home world. She activated a display that showed detailed images of the Zenthari capital city. But these weren't images from public sources or commercial satellites. These were intelligence-quality photographs showing military installations, government buildings, and classified research facilities. We've been monitoring 17 different alien civilizations, Foster explained. Each one has contributed to our understanding of galactic politics, technology, and culture. Your species has been particularly helpful in developing our quantum communication networks. Yelnek stared at the images of her homeworld in shock. You've been spying on our entire civilization? Learning from, Commander Stone corrected, gently. Just as you came here to learn about us. The difference is that we've been more successful at it. The humans presented a comprehensive report on galactic politics that demonstrated knowledge far beyond what any single species possessed. They knew about secret treaties between the Kreks and Talnari. They understood the economic relationships between the Vektari Empire and the Hailari Federation. They had detailed information about military movements, trade routes, and diplomatic negotiations across multiple star systems. The question now, Director Hayes said, is what kind of relationship our species will have going forward. She activated a final display that showed proposed diplomatic agreements between Earth and the Zenthari Collective. But the terms were nothing like what the aliens had expected. We're offering partnership, Hayes explained. Equal cooperation between our civilizations. We share our hybrid technologies and intelligence networks. You share your scientific knowledge and cultural perspectives. Dr. Kethvar studied the proposed agreement carefully. It wasn't a treaty between an advanced species and primitives. It was a partnership between equals, with humans offering capabilities that even advanced galactic civilizations didn't possess. What makes you think the Zenthari Collective will agree to these terms? He asked. Captain Torres smiled. Because we're offering something no other species can provide. Complete intelligence about all major civilizations in this region of the galaxy. The humans had become the ultimate intelligence brokers. By studying every alien species that visited Earth, they had developed the most comprehensive understanding of galactic politics available anywhere. Agent Sarah Kim presented the final piece of evidence. Dr. Kethvar, we know about the territorial dispute between your people and the Vektari Empire. We know about the resource shortages affecting your outer colonies. We know about the technological challenges your military faces in upgrading their fleet. The information was completely accurate and completely classified. No species outside the Zenthari government should have known these details. We can help with all of these problems, Hayes continued. Our hybrid technologies could solve your resource issues. Our intelligence networks could give you strategic advantages in dealing with the Vektari. Our diplomatic contacts could open new trade relationships with species you've never encountered. Dr. Kethvar realized he was no longer a researcher studying primitives. He had become a diplomatic representative negotiating with a species that held significant advantages in any relationship. Dr. Marie Foster made the final revelation that changed everything. There's one more thing you should know. You're not our first official contact. We've been maintaining covert diplomatic relationships with 3 other species for over a decade. She displayed evidence of secret agreements with the Kreks Mining Consortium, formal intelligence sharing arrangements with Talnari scouts, and technology exchange programs with Hailari medical researchers. Earth stopped being an isolated world years ago, Foster explained. We're already part of the galactic community. We just haven't announced it publicly yet. The Zenthari team sat in stunned silence as they processed this information. Earth wasn't waiting to be discovered by galactic civilization. Earth had already joined galactic civilization and was operating as one of its most informed members. Yilnex finally found her voice. What do you want from us? Nothing more than what you wanted from us, Commander Stone replied. Knowledge, friendship, and mutual cooperation. The difference is that we're offering it as equals rather than as subjects being studied. Dr. Kethvar looked around the room at technologies from across the galaxy, all improved and integrated by human innovation. He thought about the intelligence networks that monitored multiple star systems, the diplomatic relationships that had been building for years, and the strategic advantages that came from being underestimated by everyone. "What should we tell the Zenthari Collective?" he asked. Director Hayes smiled. "Tell them that Earth is ready to join Galactic Society officially, but make sure they understand that we're not applying for membership. We're offering partnership." As the meeting concluded, Agent Kevin Price received a priority communication. He listened quietly, then approached Director Hayes with a slight smile. "Ma'am, we have 3 new contacts approaching from different directions. Long-range sensors have identified them as species we haven't encountered before." Hayes nodded calmly. "Standard protocol. Monitor, analyze, and prepare contingency plans. Let's see what these new visitors want to learn about humanity." Dr. Kethvar overheard the exchange and realized the full scope of what he had discovered. Earth wasn't just prepared for contact with known species. They were ready for contact with any species. The planet that everyone thought was primitive had become the most strategically positioned world in known space. The Zenthari research vessel departed Earth with a completely different mission than the one it had arrived with. Instead of carrying reports about primitive subjects, it carried diplomatic proposals from a civilization that had revolutionized the concept of first contact. Dr. Kethvar's final report to the Zenthari Collective would warn that humanity represented something unprecedented in galactic history, a species that had weaponized curiosity, turned observation into intelligence gathering, and transformed being studied into an opportunity to become the most informed civilization in local space. The students had taught the teachers that in the universe knowledge was